With me today is the flagship car to the Lexus brand, and that is this brand new 2019 Lexus LC500. And without a doubt, this is one of the best looking sports coupes out there, bar none. And this one happens to top out over $100,000. So today in this review, I'm going to show you the ins and outs, also go for a drive, and finally conclude with the good, bad, the ugly, so you guys can decide if this is the right car for you. Stay tuned. Before I get started, I want to give a big shout out to McGrath Lexus of Westmont. They made this video possible. So if you're in the market for a new or used Lexus, make sure you check out their dealership. The URL is in the description below. Starting with the side, just take a look at the side profile. This is what a sports coupe should look like, and it is absolutely stunning to look at. The funny thing is, most manufacturers do a lot of creases, a lot of edges. Not Lexus. This is actually a lot of curves, and it looks great on this car. It is wide, it is low to the ground. The roof is carbon fiber. This looks stunning. Then you behind the windows, you can see this is black. Also, the top of the mirror is black. And then the window surrounds are all black. So you got that contrasting with this beautiful, beautiful red. And then take a look at these wheels. 21-inch wheels. These are forged and polished. These are optional. Normally they're 20-inch, but these 21-inch just look that much better. It fills up the wheel well really nicely. And just take a look at the side profile. There's really not much to say other than it just looks stunning. Here's a better look of those stunning looking 21-inch wheels. As you can see, it is polished, but the inside is black. So again, you got that contrasting look. Take a look at those massive rotors, 15.7 inches, and in the back, 14.1. And the calipers, you got 6 piston calipers up here and 4 pistons back there. So they definitely do a good job at stopping this LC500, but take a look at this wheel setup. It is absolutely stunning to look at. The tires, 245s in the front and 275s in the rear. Now moving on to the front, just like the side, it's low, it's wide, and it's curvy. And that's okay because it looks fantastic. Of course, you do have the Lexus spindle grille, which really works on this car, and you do have some of that contrasting with the chrome and polished pieces around. And then take a look at these headlights, completely LED of course, but you do have these daytime running lights, kind of like a Nike swoosh, but this is mimicked in the housing too, and it goes in the same direction as this, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. This is really cool looking. You got tri-beam headlights, and the turn signal is down here on the side. Overall, this is a fantastic looking front end, and the hood is actually really long too to fit that huge 5-liter V8. So here's a better look of what I was talking about. In the housing, you could see the swooshes that follow the same direction as this. This is in both sides, and it just gives it that uniqueness that you don't see in a lot of cars. Now moving on to the rear end, just take a look at how wide it is. This is an extremely wide rear end. And that's because the wheel haunches on either side stick out at least a foot in either direction, and it just looks fantastic. You can see there's an integrated spoiler into the deck lid, and then these tail lights. These are very unique. They give it that contrasting. It has this like a shadow gray look. And then inside there's a mirror element that gives it an illusion, and it looks really unique. Now, just like the front, the turn signals is on the side. And strange enough, this reminds me of what Toyota did with their new Camrys. Now the new Camrys, I know a lot of you guys seen it, has this kind of trim piece behind the rear taillights. And I didn't know where that came from until I saw it here. Now the bottom bumper, obviously very aggressive. You got these dual chrome surrounds for quad exhaust pipes, and also kind of just like a chin separator here. Overall, this is a fantastic looking rear end. Now to open the trunk, you simply press this hidden button over here, and it pops open. You do have to lift it and close it yourself. It is manual. Back here, you can see a decent amount of space, not the biggest obviously, not in a coupe. It's designed where you could fit a couple golf bags back here, no problem. Now they do give you a net, so there's a net tie down and the spare tires underneath here. The rear seats do not fold down, and that's pretty much it back here. All right, so how do you get in? This is where it's a little bit complicated. You can't just pull it. You have to push this side, and the back pulls out, and then you would pull on this handle, and that's how the door would open. Now, to close, you would simply push this side, and it retracts, and the doors lock. Now, when the door is locked, you can see that lights up green, and when it's not locked, it turns off. Now, if this was a sedan or SUV, I would get in the back seat and show you guys how spacious it is, but that's not the case here. So take a look. There is absolutely zero leg room, not even for kids. So don't try to fit anyone back here. This is really a placeholder for your bags or anything that you want to throw back here. These seats are not meant for sitting. All right, once you're sitting inside, you could tell you're in something special. Just take a look. Everything, absolutely everything, is either in leather or Alcantara. So take a look at the door panel. You got a mix Alcantara in the middle here, right? Layers, looks nice, and then you got leather, nice plush leather everywhere. Okay, on the dash, same thing, and then it flows, of course, the door panel, and same thing with the seats. You do have leather on the outside, and in the middle you got that Alcantara. It actually holds you in, and I really like this pattern, and it just feels great. And then take a look at this beautiful screen, right? It's a large screen, there's an analog clock, and then you got climate control. It's surrounded with this gorgeous looking aluminum, and this matches, take a look, right? Take a look at the door handles. The door handles just looks fantastic, and it feels great. And then that aluminum also carries on the doors, right? You could see top and bottom of this Alcantara is just like a trim piece that goes all the way through. I mean, you could just see luxury everywhere, and it's just a really nice cabin to be in. Now, for those of you guys that have sat in other Lexus models, you're reminded there are similarities. For example, this setup to control the infotainment system, this is very similar to the other ones you find in the Lexus. Same thing with the steering wheel, the same shape. But there are unique features that can only be found on this car. For example, some of the other F-types out there, there is a knob for comfort and Sport Plus. That's normally somewhere here. That has been moved over here. And depending on what mode you put it in, you can see it definitely changes. Like that is Sport Plus, looks very aggressive, right? And then you dial it down, you go back to comfort. So the screen changes depending on what mode you're in, but that dial is up here, which is kind of a unique place to be in. Now on this side, you do have the same kind of stock that comes out. Now, the only thing is you could control snow mode here, or you can control traction control, and if you press this, that's where traction control turns on and off. And then here, this is where you can turn on snow mode. Now, if you look at the steering wheel, this looks very gorgeous and it feels good. Now you got large paddle shifters on either side. I like that. It's not like a little piece here. It's actually a full setup, both top and bottom. So I love that. And then, of course, stitched leather once again for the airbag and everywhere else. Now, look at a gauge cluster. You would think that this whole thing is a screen. It's not. It's both. It's a combination. In the middle of the screen, outside the screen, but this circle is actually physical. And what's interesting is if you want to look at the menu and you actually click on this, take a look. It actually moves over to the side. That is really, really cool. Now, the menu kind of looks plain, but there are a few things that's exclusive to this LC500. If you keep scrolling, for example, eco indicator, that's really not a concern for people that's driving this car, but take a look. Engine oil temperature, that's pretty unique. Also, G-force, definitely unique. So if you're making some hard turns and you want to measure your G-force, you can do so. So there are a few unique things in here. And of course, you can control that through these buttons over here. Also for volume, for voice, and phone, and this is the menu that actually moves the gauge cluster. It's just really cool, really, really cool. Over here you have the mode for the radio. This controls the stations. This is for the radar guided cruise control. This is for lane keep assist, and this is for cruise control. It's it's what you would expect, what's normally found on a steering wheel. But the big thing is that moving gauge cluster, which is really cool. Over here, temperature control, really easy to figure out. Doesn't need any explanation, but it does feel and look really, really nicely. Engine start-stop button over here. Take a look at the climate vents. So you have one over there, one over here in the middle, and then you have 3 on that side. For whatever reason, there's 2 here and 1 over there. Just seems like it's redundant, but I guess they feel like there should have been 2 here, but because the screen is here, they moved 1 over there. I don't know the rationale for that, but there's 3 over there. Now this screen, this is very much like the other ones, the infotainment system in the other Lexuses. Now it's hard to see because of the glare. Now to control the infotainment system, you use this touchpad kind of thing, which is kind of fumbly and just difficult. I really don't like it, but thank God that this LC500 does have Apple CarPlay, so you can just control everything through there. But Android Auto is absent, so hopefully that gets added later on. Now there are a few buttons to make things easier. If you want to just go to Maps, you do that, and you just hit Maps, Menu, where you could select a lot of different menu items. And then also Radio, Media. This is for volume, so it's nice. You could just turn it here. And then you got Seek, Track, and also Tune on both sides. So this is pretty nice. Now you got a little hump here. There's no reason for other than to just put your wrist on there. I don't know if I really like that or not. Now down here there is a CD player. This car is equipped with a Mark Levinson audio system. Sounds absolutely amazing. There's only one cup holder. It's not very deep at all, so you and your passenger has to share this. Now this handle for the passenger just happens to be over the cup holder, which almost makes me think Lexus designed this on purpose to prevent the passenger's drink to be put in here. All right, so this gear selector, although it looks traditional, it's not. So unfortunately, this takes getting used to. So take a look at it. All right, first of all, the park is here, so you got to remember to hit that if you want to engage park. But to get out of park, let's say you want to go and drive, you have to push it aside, then it goes to neutral, then you can pull down for drive. And the same thing, if you want to go reverse, you pull to the left and then you go up. Now, how do you go into manual? Because it says just to push down, right? But if you go down, it doesn't. It just goes to drive. Actually, if you do this, it doesn't do anything. So you actually have to push to the left, then go into drive. Then when you're in drive, you pull down, then it goes to manual. There are certain things you have to go to the left, and then certain things you could just press down. So you just got to get used to it. And then this is for brake hold. So what's interesting is this button is actually for the active spoiler, which is by default turned off. And it's funny because you can't really turn it on and off by pressing this. The menu will actually tell you to go into settings, so then you actually have to scroll through settings and find the rear wing and actually do on or off. It's weird how that's programmed, and if you do on, then that means you could activate the rear wing, which is already activated. But if you have that off, then this doesn't work. So it's a little bit cumbersome the way that works. Now that's for the gas store. This is a heads-up display. This is a trunk release. It's a odometer, how bright it is. And this is pretty standard in terms of window controls, mirror control, seat controls. Now up here, because there is no sunroof, this is all Alcantara, looks and feels nice. And over here you do have SOS Connect, and these are touch lights. Take a look at that. But outside of that, that's it up here. There's really not much. You got some garage control buttons over here. So the armrest takes getting used to. Most cars you would just pull up and it opens. Not so here. Press this down and slide back, and it kind of locks in position. You got space for your phone or change or whatever. And then there's another handle here that you would press to open up the back, where you do have cigarette lighter and a USB port and an audio plug. So that's how it works. It's kind of like a dual stage setup. And if you press this button and you slide it forward, it kind of auto closes for you. That's pretty much for the interior. I know you guys are waiting for me to take her on the road, so let's do that right now. All right, I'm behind the wheel. And I'm being very careful because this is a very expensive car. I'm still trying to get used to it, so I'm not trying to go too crazy just yet. But right now, right off the bat, very first impression is this exhaust note. Man, does this V8 sound awesome. I mean, when you're looking at this car from the outside and the inside, you know it's going to be luxurious, it's going to be comfortable. This is a Lexus after all, but this V8 sound is really, really good. It's almost like you're sitting in a muscle car. It's a big surprise, but in a good way, at least for me, because I am a car enthusiast. I love big V8s, I love V8 sounds, and you get that in this LC500. It's really surprising. I'm going at low speeds and absolute quietness. There is nothing. Right? Nothing you could hear. The tires, surprisingly, are extremely quiet, being that these are low profile 21-inch tires with very small sidewall. I expected more noise. No, I don't hear anything. No wind noise, no road noise, nothing. I could hear my thoughts clearly. But one thing that does come through in the cabin is this V8, this throaty V8 sound, and it is awesome. And I'm going at low speed, so I'm about to go a bit quicker. I want to hear what that sounds like. Oh man. Did you guys hear that? Man, that was nice. This definitely has a throaty V8. 0 to 60 in this car is about 4.5 seconds, and it could definitely be quicker, but Lexus purposely did not include a launch control, which most of the sports cars, exotic cars have these days, and it really decreases 0 to 60 time because you got the computer that's doing a whole bunch of fancy things for you, and it just launches the car. This car does not, so if you just mash on the pedal, you're going to get 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, and that is pretty quick. That is pretty quick. Now, some of the reviewers, the ones from the news publications and other YouTubers, have made comparisons with this LC500 from the offerings from BMW, Mercedes, Audi, and so forth. And some of them have complained that Lexus is a bit behind in technology, meaning that the engine is a big V8 and not a turbocharged, V6 or i6. And the transmission is a 10-speed, traditional 10-speed automatic versus, say, a dual clutch transmission. Well, the reason for that is because Lexus and Toyota basically want to make sure that your car lasts forever, which is why resale value on Lexus and Toyotas are insane. They want to make sure that they're using things that's tried and true, that's not going to break, and it's more than adequate. This 5-liter V8, that's why it's called the LC500, it's a 5-liter V8 pushing 471 horsepower. 471 horsepower, nearly 400 foot-pounds of torque. Now, one big gripe I have is I noticed that when I was going over the controls and while I'm stopped here, I was looking at it, where are the controls for the cooled and heated seats and also the heated steering wheel, which this LC500 definitely has, but there's no buttons for it. So I had to go through the menu and go under climate, then you can select seating, and then you can select if you want to turn on cooled seats and heated steering wheel, but it's cumbersome. It takes time. It took me a while to find that, and when you're driving around and you want to turn that on, it is definitely tricky. It takes your attention off the road. You guys hear that? Hopefully that comes through. That is a beautiful V8 sound. Now, in terms of steering, this is where I'm kind of mixed, because traditionally Lexus cars have really light steering, and that's because the crowd is used to that. People buy Lexus because they want a very comfortable ride, a very relaxing and easy to drive car or SUV. And Lexus traditionally, you know, they have made the steering very light. In this one, it's not so light. In the LC500, the steering is kind of in the middle. So traditional Lexus loyalists that are looking for very, very light steering, you're not going to get that. But also die-hard enthusiasts that's looking for very tough and engaging steering, very rewarding steering, you're not going to get that either. Visibility all around looks great, looks great. I mean, the front, besides the windshield being a little bit cramped because of the way it slants down, but the sides are great and the rear is great too, surprisingly. It's not blocked in any way. It's interesting, the gauge cluster, when you put it in Sport Plus mode, that G meter all of a sudden comes up. So whether or not you want it, it's going to be there in front of your face. The heads-up display, which I just turned on, gives you a lot of useful things so you keep your eyes on the road, such as the speed limit, which is very important in this car. Also, whether or not you're in the lane, your miles per hour, and also which direction you're going, and which gear you're in, which is very important, especially if you're in manual mode. This is a really fun drive. If you put it in manual mode and you're shifting by yourself, combined with the speed and exhaust, it's a fun drive. It really is. In terms of suspension, man, this LC is tuned really, really well because I don't feel a lot of body roll. But the biggest thing is, remember, this is riding on 21-inch tires, which traditionally, in most cars, you go get a stiffer and bumpier ride because there's just not that much sidewall to the tires. But in here, I don't feel it. This feels very smooth, very comfortable. I really do not notice the small bumps. Now there is something, and it just depends on the type of person you are, but because of how good this LC500 looks, especially depending on the color that you choose, if you choose something bright like this red or yellow or blue, something eye-catching, you're going to get a lot of looks, okay? A lot of looks. And they're good looks because they're staring at this car, they're staring at you, wondering what you do for a career and wondering what car this is. This gets as much looks, in my opinion, as some of the exotics out there. Everywhere I'm going, I'm noticing people are looking at me. So if you want to stay low-key, you probably want to pick a color that doesn't pop as much, maybe gray or black. But if you like the attention, then this car is definitely for you. This 10-speed transmission is handling everything this LC could throw at it beautifully. Now I know the argument about dual clutch, how it's instantaneous with shifting and how it's more efficient with the power, but right now none of that is a concern because it is shifting lightning quick. And I am not feeling any lag whatsoever. It is handling everything I'm throwing at it quite well, which is very, very nice. I could see why Lexus decided to pair this 10-speed with this engine on this LC because it really works well together. Another gripe I have is this gear selector, which I've showed you guys. It's a little complicated to get, and it is complicated because right now, while I was at the light, I was trying to go from manual back to auto driving to drive. But when I put it into the left side and pushed up, you know what? It put me in reverse rather than into drive. And then I had to push down back into drive. So it is confusing. I don't know why manufacturers have to reinvent this. Simply make it easy, up, down, that's it. No going to the right, no doing all this fancy stuff. So that's another thing I have a problem with. So this car fits the bill where if you just want a spacious and luxurious and quiet and smooth ride, you go get that. But for the other times where you simply want to put your foot down and get a thrilling and fun ride, you go get that in here as well. Alright, let's conclude with the good, the bad, and the ugly to this LC500. Starting with the good, the outside looks amazing. It has exotic car styling. Inside is very exquisite and luxurious. It definitely has a throaty V8 sound, There's excellent suspension, it's a very spacious cabin, and the engine transmission definitely provides fast acceleration and quick shifts. Now in terms of the bad, there are a few things. Starting with that trackpad for the infotainment system, very cumbersome. There's a confusing shifter. Right now there's no Android Auto. The controls for the cooled, heated seats and steering wheel is very difficult to get to. The rear seats are pretty much unusable, and this LC500 is pricey. Now in terms of the price, LC500s start out around $92,000. This one that I reviewed is fully loaded. It's coming in right under $107,000.